Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven, and I am the host. Coming to you live on a Monday evening, here to break down our takeaways from the Chargers film watching experience. So it was a great weekend, man. Again, the Friday night game was fantastic performance, obviously. But then just being able to chill out on Saturday and Sunday, enjoy the slates on both college front and the NFL front. It was great. Now we can sit back and watch Monday Night Football and move on to Raiders week. So excited for all of that. So joining me as always is my good friend Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing so well. The whole weekend was nothing but bliss. Like on Saturday, I went to go watch the new Conjuring movie, and it's all like horrible and terrible, and there's demons and such. I'm just sitting there like, the Chargers won yesterday. Like, you know, who needs an extra? We already had our exorcism, you know, like that's what Friday was. So my weekend was fantastic. It was nice. Everything was just really, really nice. Again, I am all for Friday NFL wins.
Yeah, as long as they win on Friday, they can play on Friday.
Totally.
If they lose on Friday, I will not be a happy camper. That is for sure.
Yeah.
But some fun takeaways from this game, from watching film. Obviously, we're a few days removed, so we've had some time to digest, and hopefully you guys are still kind of riding high off the win. It was, like I said, a monumental win for the Chargers. Unfortunately, a win that was not really covered by the national media members. So we are here to support that claim, I guess.
Well, the Chiefs aren't anybody important or anything. So
yeah.
why would that matter?
Like, I get it. Like, the Bills and Ravens game was insane. And like the Packers are like the media darling this year, but like people were choosing to talk about Mekhi Becton instead. And I'm like, okay, you know.
Okay, hang in there. I'm okay with that. There are some things I'm okay with.
Love Mekhi. Great prospect.
Yeah.
Happy for my fantasy stock there for sure. So anyways, we'll get into some takeaways for sure. As always, have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks, the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. I hope you were able to hop on those numbers for Justin Herbert. Less kind to Amari Hampton. Hopefully, obviously that will change going forward. Deion Henley, you know, had a nice little sack, so hopefully you were able to get in on the action there. You guys know by now that we've loved working with Prize Picks, and it's so simple to play. All you have to do is choose 2 to 6 players, pick more or less on any given statistic, whether that's, you know, Cameron Dicker's field goal attempts, whether that is, you know, Tyler Conklin, who we mentioned as an X factor. That was an easy selection for me. And you know, and you can get in on the action that way. So you can win up to 2,000 times your money if you download the app Prize Picks today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 instantly in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code GUILTY to get $50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right. So in terms of, you know, if you're new to this space, we always kind of take some time after watching the all 22. You know, one of the main things that we always highlight in this space is almost always like trench play and who stood out, who are we concerned about, things like that. But we're going to start with a narrative each week. And, you know, whether that is a coaching development, you know, like last year, talking about like the way that Jesse Minter was using Cam Hart was one of our talking points last season. A player development. We talked about Joe Alt in the space quite a lot last year. Or just kind of anything that we feel like was a big takeaway from the all 22 watching. So Tyler, we'll start with you. What is your big narrative takeaway from watching the all 22?
That for the first time since joining the Chargers, I can say that the passing game success was actually more about Greg Roman than it was Justin Herbert. Not that it wasn't at all about Herbert, because it definitely was. And we'll talk about him and the game that he had. But it was more than just, and I saw a lot of this argument, which is kind of understandable. Well, Greg Roman now has weapons. But, I mean, 2 of the 3 starters are still there. Keandre Lambert-Smith didn't really play. Trey Harris had 1 catch and didn't really play. Gadsden didn't play at all. So they really just was kind of like swapping Josh Palmer for Keenan Allen. That doesn't really scream like more weapons outside of Conklin, of course, who had a couple of good catches there. If you watch the game, I would say 80%, 85% of the yards, they weren't just like players winning their one-on-ones. It wasn't just like, oh, Keenan had this great route against someone in the slot 4 different times, or McConkey had like against like the Bengals, like several routes where he's winning like one-on-one. It, to me, for the majority of it, was just Greg Roman putting these guys in a position to be free off the line, to use space the right way, to, to make it easy for them, to hide them, to condense them, and just force the Chiefs to be wrong every single time. And it really was the first time in a while that I had seen that. I think he had done that before with maybe just like Lad McConkey last year, but I hadn't seen him express it throughout all the passing game like he did this game. Quentin Johnston played a ton in the slot. They had 5 snaps with 4 receivers. Apparently they had 0 of those last year, which is kind of crazy in my opinion. Have 0 is crazy. And Herbert went at his receivers quite a bit. And the result was that all three of the starting Chargers pass catchers were on the list of top 15 EPA per target, or total EPA this week. There are 15 quarterback to receiver combos that made the top 15 for EPA, and the Chargers had 3 of them. That's crazy. Like, I don't know how that's even really possible.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And your point ahead at this game was, because we brought up like what's keeping us up at night, or coaching narratives and whatnot. Your point was, okay, like what's Greg Roman going to do in year 2? How do you make easy button, answers, all that sort of stuff. I just think this was a phenomenal game by Greg Roman. Every single option, whether it was play action or whatever, was designed for the Chiefs to always commit to something and be wrong. There was always a high-low option for them. It kind of reminded me of the best versions of the Joe Lombardi offense that also was expressing a lot of the Greg Roman stuff too. And there was a great story by Albert Breer today, how he discussed that Greg Roman went with Justin Herbert to Oregon just to like, they're practically just bonding and discussing like what can we do this year. And it just felt like everything came together. Herbert from a running perspective was there. The calmness was there. It was the best game that Greg Roman had called. And we had said that after the game, but really watching it, I truly feel that even as good as Herbert was, to me, the storyline is actually that Greg Roman gave them so many answers. I mean, there's a 20 or 33 yard play to McConkey where there's 2 chuck downs, or 2 guys over the middle, a check down, and McConkey open, a completely perfectly blocked offensive line. And it's like, wow, I don't remember seeing that many plays last year where it was just like, pick which target you'd like to go to. I mean, we're so used to like, throw it to McConkey or we're going to die. And it was just very like, oh, I got that option. I have that option. And it was so easy. And so Herbert was fantastic, but I think it was executing within what Greg Roman was giving him.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Albert Beer situation. So, Caleb asking about that, the Greg Roman situation this summer, him going up to Oregon and working with Justin Herbert, whether it was like a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, we're not quite sure. But Greg Roman's goal overall was like, hey, like let's get our heads together here and make sure that we are unlocking the best possible version of Justin Herbert. And one of the main points was, kind of encouraging Justin to run more, which definitely you saw, impact this game. But I think also just kind of understanding where your quarterback is at, the things that he likes, and giving him outlets. I think that's the main thing that was, for me, lacking in the passing game last season, where it was a lot of times 1 read, 2 reads, and then we're just kind of screwed. And some of that was the lack of receiving talent, and I will give that to Greg Roman. But it felt like even in the concepts where Omarion Hampton was not necessarily targeted, or Najee Harris was not targeted, or Tyler Conklin was not targeted, there was at least an outlet. And again, that easy button was there much more frequently. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about previewing the game was the first down issues that plagued the Chargers against the Chiefs last year, where they were last in each of the weeks in success rate on first down, which again, the first game, how much do you really hold that against Greg Roman when you're playing without your tackles and Justin Herbert can barely move? But the second game, when almost everybody is healthy and it still was the same issue, they ran the ball at a significant rate on first down against the Chiefs both times last year. this past week against the Chiefs, they were 4th in neutral passing rate and 2nd in success rate when passing on first downs. So Greg Roman deserves a lot of credit for looking at the games against the Chiefs last year and saying, hey man, like we're just not going to, hit our head against the wall here and just run the ball against a great run defense, which we can talk about later, on first downs, and then just set Justin Herbert up for failure. They instead came out, a lot of shotgun, a lot of drop back, quick game, crossing routes, little, you have like a vertical and then a choice route behind it, which I think is fantastic game planning for Keenan and for Ladd. And I like watching the game live. We were like, oh, wow, like this is a great Greg Roman game. But watching the tape, I really gained an appreciation for everything had a sequencing to it. Everything made sense. You're playing the Chiefs who have all of this, heavy man coverage, blitz approach, and there's a lot of choice routes, a lot of crosser routes, a lot of protection that made a lot of sense, which we can get to as well. But I think Greg Roman just deserves a ton of credit. Like this, to me, like you mentioned, is the first time where I felt, better about Greg Roman than the other coaches. Like I think Jesse Minter, had a good day, but I think Greg Roman was like truly, truly outstanding. And I think everything just made sense from a schematic standpoint. Good coaching decisions all around from the offensive staff.
Yeah, there were definitely games in the second half of the season that weren't awesome. Like the Bucs game wasn't great, but the first half of the year up through like that Ravens game, it was just, okay, we're going to force it to Quentin Johnson on the outside at X, and he's going to get one of these. And it really just seemed like after about the second half, after about that game, they went, okay, what I want to do is not working. What can we do to make it better for the guys that we have right now? And then so you get the second half of that Broncos game, you get the Raiders game, which the Texans game had gone better. But at that point, it is kind of just also about lack of weapons. There was no Josh Palmer that game. They definitely didn't have a Conklin in that game either. So it really just feels like from about that midway point of the season, that Ravens loss, there was a bit of soul searching. And then you had the offseason where you can go talk to Herbert, like, what can we do? How are we going to do this? What works for you? And so it's just been great to see. I know it's only been one game, and look, I will never in my life forget the Miami Week 1 game where I thought this was the greatest rushing attack I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and then the Chargers were the worst rushing attack historically after that. So I understand that, but this is Spags. This is the Chiefs.
Right.
These are consistent, good defenses, and ultimately, I think I forget who pointed it out, but this was the worst coverage grade by the Chiefs defense in 2 years. Yeah. It wasn't even like, I mean, like they're kind of like used to this, right? Like this is the worst they've looked. And Greg Roman really was just pushing all the right buttons. It was the first time I really thought it was a coordinator advantage, which is kind of crazy to say.
Yeah, especially when you're going against Spags. So like that's the thing for me is like there are definitely some trends in this game and the tape where I don't necessarily want to like overreact too strongly. But Greg Roman, to me, you're going up against a Chiefs defense that is like gave you a ton of problems last year. And we've seen this Spags defense give like the Ravens offense when Roman was calling plays a lot of issues as well, because like, how do you stop this kind of offense? Is a lot of blitzes, a lot of man coverage. And they just had a lot of answers in this game. So I think, again, this is a trend for like, I'm not ready to call him like the best offensive coordinator in Chargers history by any means. But he deserves a lot of credit for this particular game plan. And if it continues, then we can talk about the changes that this offense has made and, being a better suit for Justin Herbert's skill set. And I think getting back to the receivers for a second, there was so much of like, we're forcing the players into this particular role. We're making sure that they do this one thing. And same thing with the tight ends. Like there wasn't a ton of flexibility. And Ladd McConkey, after they signed Keenan Allen, was like, yeah, it's great because we can all move around. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not happening because this is Greg Roman. Like this is what we're talking about. And so just looking at the numbers here in terms of passing snaps, Ladd McConkey last year was 68% of his routes in the slot. Friday night, that was down to 52%. Keenan Allen ran 44% of his passing snaps from the slot, which would be the lowest percentage that he's had since like 2015, since like, athletic prime Keenan Allen, before we knew that, he was obviously like route running slayer and all that stuff, and the 2 ACLs and all that stuff. And then Quentin Johnson was the inverse. Last year, he had 12% of his routes were from the slot, and Friday night was 23%. including his second touchdown where it was a great free release. He runs deep over, just turns on the Jets and wins. So when they said, hey, we can all move around, I'm like, no way, like you're not doing that. And then they did it and it worked great. I think like, again, just the balance of the three of them in particular worked so well because, you can put Lana as the Z, you can put Keenan as the X, apparently, Quentin as the X, and Keandre can come in and play X, and Trey can come in and play X. And it just meshed so well. And it was one of my big concerns was like, okay, you have a better receiving room, but like, do you have the coordinator who can put it all together and put them in the right positions? And they did, and he did, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, he does. And every time that they were bit backs against the wall, like, oh, that didn't look so good, or oh, we need something here, they found a way to respond. I'm so used to, we had seen this narrative. We all felt the exact same way after the Chiefs scored that field goal and scored that touchdown. We're like, okay, so I know how this game's going to go.
Yeah.
And instead of it didn't. And it really wasn't about the defense for the first time in forever. It was about the offense, the way they're like, oh, okay, no, we got this, no problem. And it was just efficient drive. Things were timed right. Things were done well. That one, like not the ceiling drive, but one of the main drives, or I think it was the final one, where it was like Trey Harris, Keenan Allen, Omarion Hampton, Thad McConkey, Quentin Johnson. It was just like that guy, all up and down the field. I'm just not used to seeing that with Greg Roman. So again, it's so early. I'm not going to spend 2 years essentially dreading Greg Roman to suddenly say, wow, I think he's amazing. But people ask us to give credit where credit is due, and I think it's due in this case.
Yeah, especially when the issue we have always had with him is like the sequencing of the passing offense and being able to have answers and make changes and be flexible. Those are all things that he did very well on Friday night, and if that can continue, then great. That trip up to Eugene should happen every single year, and they should continue to do the things that they've been doing. Because this offense right now is like third in EPA per play on the weekend. Justin Herbert, I think, is fourth in EPA per play on the weekend. So if this offense plays like they did on Friday, you and I did that kind of like resetting expectations thing, and we were both kind of like, maybe the ceiling is like the 10th best offense. But if they do what they did on Friday, fix some things in the run game, which we'll get to here in a second, and then maybe there is a higher ceiling. Maybe there is an extra gear to. And obviously Justin Herbert playing at that level can take things higher than that as well.
Yeah. All right. So what is your narrative after watching the film? I might have stolen yours. I really wanted to talk about Greg Roman.
No, I mean, it's fair because I think that to me, that was the big takeaway. And Herbert's MVP statement is in the title and we talked about that afterwards, but he did play really well. I was absolutely blown away by Joe Alt's film, man. Like he truly looks like he has taken a huge step forward. And yeah, Jacob O-line Steven, of course, that's what I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about this in a second as well. Yes. But Joe Alt, I don't think not only did he like not lose any rep, I think he like, it's so difficult as a tackle to actively win reps. Like it's one thing to just prevent a loss, but he won a rep against every single Chiefs defender that went against him. I don't think anybody really gave him like that much trouble. I pointed this out on the Keenan Allen touchdown. The Chiefs did a TE stunt and Joe Alt goes inside to the end is crashing in towards Zion. And then the defensive tackle is looping around and Joe Alt is blocking the end with his right hand and the defensive tackle with his other hand, and he's stopping both of them. Zion was in position too, but Joel was like, I got this. And just like the way that he performed against Chris Jones, like insane. Chris Jones is such a master of leverage against tackles. Like that's why the Chiefs do that, because he just has a way to get under their pads and get into their chest. And Joel was just like, nah, like I'm good. I don't need to worry about you. There were some little quirks in the run game that I wasn't like crazy about, but as a pass protector, there's no reason why Joe Alt can't be regarded as like the best left tackle in the league right now. Again, I mentioned Tristan Wirfs' injury. We have no idea when he's coming back. Trent Williams allowed 10 pressures.
I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that was the number.
I read that from Nate Tice and I was like, excuse me? Like, there's no way that's real. And then you look on PFF and sure enough, that's the case. So the offensive line is going to be featured today. It's going to be, something we're going to be keeping an eye on. Obviously, things are going to, from an individual talent perspective, things are going to get more difficult than what the Chiefs present. Like the Chiefs really are Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and then a bunch of like, C+, B- kind of players. And the thing is about Joe Alt, if you're a B+ player, you're not touching Justin Herbert against Joe Alt. Like you have to be a truly, truly high-end player to get to Justin Herbert against Joe Alt. And now he's shutting down Chris Jones like it's nothing. So I just was so impressed. There were so many plays in pass protection where he just made the routine look like so easy, and his strength really, to me, has significantly taken a step forward. So we'll see about the run game in a maybe a more positive run game script, what that looks like. But there were some nice moments there when he was like, getting to the second level, and combo blocks with Zion were really good at certain moments. But there's a little inconsistency there that I would like to clean up. But from a pass protection standpoint, like Joe Alt was untouchable in the best way possible.
Yeah, he was treating everybody like it was a UFL team. It was unbelievable how much better he was than everybody that lined up across from him. And yes, there was Chris Jones, of course. And there's a couple of plays where it just looks like he like almost like picks him up off his feet, like he's Wee Man or something. Like he just like, all right, here we go. I'm just gonna go put you over here now. And like, you go stay in the crib. Yeah. It was like, that's Chris Jones. You're doing that too. This is not some bum player. And Joe Alt, to make it look so easy, was incredible. After this weekend, the two edge defenders with the worst pass rush grade in the NFL are the two players that went up against Joe Alt the most, in Amenahu and Dana. Like both those players have the two worst pass rush grades in the NFL right now, and it's because they were going up against Joe Alt. And I think Joe Alt currently has the best pass blocking grade among any offensive tackle in the NFL after this week. I hesitate because it's so early and he's about to face much tougher competition, pure true edge rusher elite guys coming up. But like this is a player that we're watching where he could give LaDainian Tomlinson a run for like Chargers Mount Rushmore if this continues. And it'll be tough because an offensive tackle, like, I don't know, people don't really do that with offensive tackles. and it is LaDainian Tomlinson and these guys, but like there's a world where Joe Alt is one of the greatest Chargers of all time. Yeah. And he's already kind of looked the part as a rookie. And in a game like this, it's just the sky's the limit. Where, like you said, Wirfs is hurt. We'll see. It's like a 3-man race. It's him, it's Lane. I guess you can say Sewell. But to me, like even just pure statistically, right now, Alt had the better week. So tougher road ahead for sure. I'm not going to like claim he's a Hall of Famer right now, but you all see it. Like we can all see it what he could be. And as much as I love Rashawn Slater and have praised him and have even said he's the better player at his position than Justin Herbert has been, like Joe Alt might be even better than that. And that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, like ceiling wise, I've kind of always known, right? Like you're talking about a 6'8" guy who, tested like 90th percentile. And there were like the only thing on tape where like you could just kind of tell that he was a little like awkwardly tall at certain times. And like he's in the position for 3 years. Like, he needs to get stronger, and now he's gotten stronger. And like, if you were going to tell me that he completely shut out Chris Jones, I would have been extremely happy, but I probably would have been surprised because that's the exact kind of player who's going to, who gave Joe Alt problems last year. That's why Danielle Hunter gave him problems, because he's able to get into his chest and be able to kind of, use his leverage against him. And now Chris Jones like can't even get to Justin Herbert when Joe Alt is blocking him. I tweeted that clip out of him blocking Chris Jones 8 yards down the field on the Darius Davis, jet sweep. Like that might sound like a bold take from Tyler, but it really, ceiling wise, I don't think the Chargers have had a more talented player in my life as a fan. Like I don't think that's crazy to say. And the Chargers talked about that themselves. Like Greg Roman was actively talking about him being a Hall of Fame tackle during the offseason. So, yeah, man, it's a real treat to have him around. And he was even protecting Justin Herbert's blind side while they were on a date out in LA. True commitment right there, guys.
I love that. Just to see Dick Joel just hanging out in the background. Herbert, the megastar, Madison Beer, the megastar, and it's just kind of like Joel, like sitting on the back. And he's And I'm sure he's such a great like person to eat dinner with. He just probably loves the food, is just happy to be there. Joe Alt, man. We liked, it's crazy that he was in a class with a Brock Bowers, with a Malik Neighbors. So he wasn't like my offensive player number one in the class, because like Brock Bowers is kind of good too. But I mean, man, like in this past class, would he have been the first player off the board, or at least like on our boards? Yeah, probably. Now we get a little bit of hindsight too. So yeah, he's just something special. He's just something special. It's different than just like you said, it's not avoiding a loss, it's not neutralizing, it's winning reps now. And for him to go, all right, sure, I'll do it left tackle, oh, I'll do it at right tackle, it's absurd. It's really absurd that he can do it.
Yeah, Harbaugh said today, and he said this previously as ET448 points out in the chat, that he thinks that Joe Alt might be their most improved player on this team.
He might be right. I mean, based on the strength that he has, because like he suddenly has developed, like maybe not as much, and Slater's shorter and it helps, but he started to develop like that Slater anchor and strength.
Yes.
So you have like the body of the Titan that he was and the athletic freak stuff, but now he's also got the Rashawn Slater kind of sit and anchor. It's like, what's the weakness? What's the flaw? And he's 22.
Yeah, I think, we'll see about obviously how Rashawn's career turns out, but like just the fact that, Joe said after Rashawn got hurt that him and Rashawn like would work on stuff after every practice together, and they would watch tape together, they would work out together. And if Joe can master that part of what makes Rashawn so good and being able to recover when you lose and things like that, like it's curtains, man. Like this guy is going to be a tough offensive tackle to beat if he can also overcome his biggest weakness in year 2. So, I think his play is like maybe a little overinflated in terms of, last year people talking about like, oh, he's a top 4, top 5 right tackle.
Yeah.
I think there were enough like concerns from a run game perspective for me that I don't know if I would like completely agree with that. But right now he's tracking to end the season as the best left tackle in the league. And I don't think that's crazy to say, just because he's taken that much of a step forward physically. And like, you can like even in the press conferences, you can tell that he's like added a good amount of weight. And so, we'll see what happens. People pointing out Myles Garrett in the chat, stuff like that. I thought he played awesome against TJ Watt. TJ Watt just beat him off the snap one time, and that's what TJ Watt does. And TJ Watt kind of got bodied by Armand Membu yesterday, for what it's worth. So yeah, I'm so encouraged by the step that he has taken. And I think, again, finishing the season as best left tackle in the league is in the cards for him. Like first team all pro is very much in the cards for him right now.
Yeah. Protector of the year, you name it. People are always asking, like, do you keep Joe Alt at left tackle? Yeah, you do. They are not moving Joe Alt away from left tackle, because Slater will not practice until July of next year. And that's assuming he can get back 100% and is 100%. So I don't think you move him. Yeah.
And Rashawn, if he does come back playing right tackle, being an elite right tackle, it's great. It's a great situation for the Chargers.
Yeah. They're all the same. There's no demotion here. There's no drop in pay.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Before we continue, our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this. All right. Let's get to unsung heroes here. I think we can talk about another offensive lineman if we want to. For me, I'm going to highlight Troy Dye here. I think one of the more underrated players on the Chargers. I've had that take for quite a while. There were just so many moments where he was in the right position, reading things well. Like he and Dayon both just have such a great ability to carry over routes and take those throws to the middle of the field away from opposing quarterbacks. Now it wasn't like all the time, because Patrick Mahomes is that dude, unfortunately. But I thought Troy Dye, from a coverage perspective, played extremely well. There were not a ton of designed Chiefs run game concepts. Like I think they only had 11 total carries from the running backs. I thought he played the run well. The 2 hits he put on Patrick Mahomes were insane. So the first one, and you put the clip on YouTube, I put the clip on Twitter. He drops to the hook to his right, and so he's on the right, like his right hash, and he stops the hook. He sees everything's going to the opposite direction, so he carries the over route, shuts down the over route, and then books it to the sideline and absolutely trucks Patrick Mahomes. And then similar play against him on the second hit. There was a pressure that I thought PFF missed on a blitz as well. I think Troy Dye, he's not going to like, he's not going to be a Pro Bowler by any means, but just somebody who's just really, really consistent in coverage, consistently, fits the run at a high level. And obviously now Denzel Perryman is going to be potentially out for like 4 to 6 weeks as he deals with the high ankle sprain. And people are asking me and you like, oh, should the Chargers trade for a linebacker? Should they go do this? I'm completely comfortable with Troy Dye starting going forward. And the Chargers are as well. Like they were actively rotating him in with Perryman before Perryman got hurt. And so I think Troy Dye is a really, really solid player. I know he's not the same kind of like bowling ball that Perryman is in terms of the run game, but he's not afraid to go take on a pulling guard. Like he is definitely willing to go be physical in the run fit. So I thought he played really, really well. PFF had him as like the lowest graded defensive Charger, and I do not agree with that at all. I thought he played fantastic, made a couple of really splash plays that were really nice. And we know he can blitz. We know he can do everything in the coverage game. So I'm just really happy with where he's at as well. And I think proving to be one of the more, positive signings from last preseason.
I think Perryman and Henley might be a better complement to each other, but I think Dye, what he can do, he can just do more in this defense than I think Perryman can. And again, it's not a pure run defense, although he's been pretty good there. But I just think what he can do in that play that you mentioned, the ground he had to cover to go. I mean, I had to clip it out just watching him go from like over like the guard or whatever it was to completely to the opposite hash, all the way back around and then go hit Herbert or Mahomes, like you said. Just that kind of range and that instinct and just like the perfect timing of where he is in the defense and passing things off. Just so great. The physicality is there. I'd argue he's the most underrated player, the most of an unsung hero of the Chargers the last year in a game now, because every time there's a linebacker that goes out, it's like, okay, here comes, Amen Ogbongbemiga, or here comes Nick Neiman. And it's like, hey, okay, they're fine, but it's not like they're great. And every time Troy Dye enters a game, and he rarely gets to play as the starter in a game. It's always like, okay, here you go. You got to go play in this game. All right, Perryman's in. Well, Colson's out. Okay, now you got to go play. Go figure it out. And it's always like, okay, no problem. Handles business every time. I'm always just so impressed with Troy Dye. I think the physicality was there. Good backup player the Chargers are very lucky to have. He's in this awkward spot where he's never going to be that long-term starter for anybody, but he's always going to be a good player on a team, and I'm thankful it's the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the Chargers headed into the season with, I think, the linebacker being potentially their deepest room on the team. Unfortunately, now you have the Denzel Perryman issue, the Junior Colson injury. The Chargers are like, their depth is going to be tested here a little bit. But this is why you keep Marlo Wax on the roster, man. Like, this is why you're very fortunate to have that kind of development from an undrafted free agent hitting the ground running in the preseason. We'll see if they rotate him or Delshon Phillips in. Delshon Phillips hasn't really ever been like a quote unquote starting caliber player, in the NFL, but neither was Troy Dye until he came over to the Chargers. So, the linebacker room, I think, is going to be fine. I'm curious if they go out and bring, somebody in for a practice squad spot to kind of be that, fifth linebacker, special teams linebacker kind of situation. But it sucks that Denzel Perryman is out, but I'm very comfortable with Troy Dye being a full-time starter moving forward.
Yeah, very comfortable. A bummer that you lose a starting linebacker, but to have this guy and then have Wax right behind him, you just feel pretty good.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, Tyler, who is your unsung hero of the week?
I did not know which direction to go with this one, so we might have a couple of unsung heroes. I will go with Donte Jackson because I wasn't sure what I was going to get out of him. You hear some good things, hear some not so good things. Then he's like injured in camp, and like, okay, what's he going to provide? They had Christian Fulton last year. Was great to start, got injured, wasn't so great after that. So okay, now you have Tarheeb still as your set, true guy, always out there. How's Donte Jackson going to be? And to me, it was everything about what we kind of wanted out of Christian Fulton, and a really, really good debut for him. Got bailed out by a drop for sure. I think if Hollywood Brown catches that, he might have scored. But hey, sometimes better be lucky than good. But otherwise, I thought it was pretty dang good. 2 catches for 9 yards on 6 targets. Popped hard as a tackler. Very gamey. Like, just there's that kind of like jittery kind of way that these DBs are playing with Jesse Minter with Klingscale, where they're very like active towards the football. And he almost had a pick six at one point. He at least had that pass breakup. Just that was really, really solid for them. So the numbers were good. The film was pretty solid. He popped as a hitter. He looked decent in coverage. I thought it was a very underrated, unsung kind of hero game for him.
Yeah, and his almost pick six was a really, really good play. It
was
like almost identical to Tarheeb's pick six against the Falcons, where he was kind of baiting the quarterback and the corner and the receiver, and then he just popped right at it and unfortunately dropped the pass. But I thought that was good. People bringing up the Mahomes hit. I think that's some bush league by Patrick Mahomes, to be completely honest with you. We all know as Chargers fans, like the games that Mahomes plays on the sideline, like he always kind of will slow down a little bit and then just like flop a little bit on the sidelines. It looked like that's what he was going to do, and so you see Donte Jackson pull up, and then out of nowhere, Mahomes just like lowers his shoulder. I think that's completely bush league. I really wish that would go away. But I thought Donte Jackson had some really good moments. I thought Tarheeb still had some good moments, particularly as like a run defender. It started on like the first play of the game where Travis Kelce pulls across the formation, and you see Tarheeb still just like eat up the space, get under his leverage, and then make a tackle on Isaiah Pacheco. Really, really impressive there. A couple of other really good run fits. So I think, unfortunately, it was not a great Cam Hart game, but Donte Jackson and Tarheeb still, I thought, were really, really solid.
Yeah, those definitely feel like the true starters right now, especially as Cam Hart's trying to work back. Cam Hart is also just not a 4-2 guy, and so occasionally it was just like, that guy's just faster than me, dude. Can you please help me?
Yeah,
and the safeties weren't there either, so I sort of feel bad. Like Cam Hart, like physical press coverage, kind of guy. I don't know how fast Jamar Chase is, but he's not like 4-2 Tyquan Thornton fast. So, it's all good.
Let's see. I don't think he participated in the combine stuff.
Jamar, I don't remember if he had like an LSU pro day.
So he ran an unofficial 4.34 at his pro day.
Isn't that when like everybody ran a 4.2 or 4.3 during COVID time? It's like, wow.
Yeah, there were so many 4.3s that year.
This guard ran a 4.3. Crazy.
Yeah. Anybody else that you feel like deserves to be highlighted here in this case?
The guy who played through a flu, Mekhi Becton. I have to mention him here.
Yeah.
This is a guy who wasn't even necessarily in game shape, didn't play in the preseason, missed 3 games. Had an illness, whatever it was you saw him on the sideline, like trying to get oxygen. Didn't play the entire game, but did play 50 snaps, and it was the highest pass blocking grade of his entire career. Like for that to be your debut is pretty gosh darn good. 0 pressures, looked pretty good. Wasn't asked to move as much as some of the other offensive linemen, but did what he had to do. Played well, ton of heart. Like just purely from a hey, I fully respect that. Got to be an unsung hero or just the respect award, whatever you want to call it, the there every day award. And that holding penalty was bullshit. I just thought he just kicked the shit out of the Chiefs defender.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about, Tyler did tweet the clip out. So he snatches against, I think it was Charles Omenihu, and then the ref throws a holding penalty, and like it was an incomplete pass. It was 3rd down, so that it didn't matter. It didn't impact the game necessarily. But I'm like watching it, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna tweet this out. And then I realized it was the flag, and I was like, people will probably like kind of bullshit this about it's being a clip. But I was like, dude, this guy is awesome. There were a couple of, he went viral last year with the Eagles where he would climb to the 2nd level and just like demolish linebackers. He did that twice, both against Drew Tranquill. I know Drew Tranquill had the 2 sacks, but like between Joe Alt and Mekhi, they got Drew Tranquill quite a few times.
Yeah.
And then just his strike as a pass protector is so strong. Like again, one of the things that I wanted to highlight in what's real or fake, which is coming up next, which we can kind of, I guess, just like transition right into it, is the Chargers' performances against the Chiefs stunt games, which I mentioned Joe Alt and Zion having a good moment earlier. But the Chiefs defenders would try and cross Mekhi's face, and he would just like shove them into the other guy to the left. Like his strike is so impressive. And, there are some timing issues with it. Occasionally, he'll kind of get overzealous with it a little bit. But if the Chargers are going to continue to, block this well against stunts going forward, Mekhi is a huge piece of that because he just has the ability to erase space. and be able to take a stunt man and just throw him to the other side. And it just creates chaos in the middle. And it doesn't always work for some teams when you have a lineman who can create that chaos. You know, you have to be able to kind of like be willing to, handle things on the fly a little bit. But all the respect in the world for Mekhi for how he gutted out this performance. And I think he was the key piece, in my opinion, of why the pass protection looks so good against stunts, because even though him and Trey Pipkins and Bradley Bozeman, like, they never really practiced together, it just was kind of like, it was just kind of seamless. Like, there were no issues on the right side from a stunt perspective at all the entire game. And Jamari deserves credit for that as well. But Mekhi, I thought, really shined in the stunt game perspective.
Yeah, really excited to see him moving forward. It will get much easier next week. It'll be rough against the Broncos and definitely something else against the Giants. But for one game in a sick debut, first time with the team, essentially first time actually playing with these guys too, barely even practiced with them, did everything he could. Looked pretty good. Do you want to mention Zion?
Yeah, I thought Zion played really well too, man. I think this was easily his best pass protection game. People kind of clowned him online for like that one rep where he's trying to like box Chris Jones out. But hey, man, Chris Jones didn't hit Justin Herbert. I call that as a win. And that was really honestly the only time Zion like very cleanly lost a rep. We've highlighted this for years. Like, one of the biggest struggles with Zion is that he can kind of get over his toes, and it causes, sometimes he can even lose to like, I saw him lose in practice to Otito Bonia one time that way. It's just, it gets him in problems sometimes. And there was none of that. He picked up every stunt that the Chiefs threw at him that way. And again, part of that is Joe Alt deserves a lot of credit there. But it just looked like communication was cleaner. It looked like their ability to handle things on the fly was cleaner. And Zion, I thought, had some really good moments one-on-one. I thought he had some good moments run blocking, which we kind of expect at this point. Like, he is an above average run blocker. So yeah, man, I thought everybody kind of looked good. Like, Bradley Bozeman had some good moments. Trey Pipkins had some good moments. I'm not going to overreact because, like I mentioned earlier, the Chiefs personnel outside of their two best players is kind of lackluster. But if they can stack these games up, and like, if they play this way against the Broncos in a few weeks, then I'm going to definitely start buying in going forward.
Yeah, definitely. We expected some of the one-on-ones to be fine, but if you can even just be same deal, Bozeman's like a couple pressures, Trey 3 pressures, which weren't even that bad, Zion 1, but you're avoiding the critical, awful mistakes. And so you're just kind of like, a couple pressures here and there. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times. I don't remember the last time I saw the Chargers play the Chiefs and there wasn't a clear just mental error on the offensive side.
Yeah, it was a very clean offensive performance, and the offensive line was definitely a key piece there. I mean, we saw Zion last year give up 8 pressures in 2 games against the Chiefs, and it was like 2 sacks and 3 hits, I think, and there was 1 pressure this week.
Yeah.
So I don't want to overreact, but listen, man, like, that's a huge step forward for him. Now we just need to see him consistently put these performances together, and then we'll see, man. Maybe he might earn himself an extension with this team. I don't know.
I think he's kind of trending that way.
All right. One of the other things we wanted to hit here in this real or fake segment, which is essentially, it's a buy or sell segment for you guys. But we both kind of came up with this on our own about the Chargers pass rush numbers. I put it in the fake category for a different reason. You put it in the real category for a different reason. So when you look at the numbers and you look at the pressure percentage, it looks like it was a fine pressure output game from the Chargers. So 19 total pressures, 2 sacks, 9 hits, and a 31% pressure percentage. Again, those are numbers that look pretty good. They're not like amazing, but they're pretty good. There were some teams who were like a 20% pressure percentage this week. So like, it looks fine. But I think when you watch the tape, you see a few concerning things popping up with just the inability to win like true one-on-one pass sets. So, Thule gets 4 pressures, Bud Dupree gets 3 pressures, Khalil Mack gets 2 pressures, which Khalil's 2 pressures were like legit. But a lot of the Chargers pressures came in these situations where they're stunting, they're doing simulated pressures, they're looping, they're picking, they're doing all of these different ways to create pressure. and they deserve credit for that. Like, that's how you're coached. That's your responsibility. That's great. But whenever the Chargers just straight up like rush 4 or they'll rush 3, drop whatever, it was just like really concerning what I watched. Like Juwan Taylor, Josh Simmons, it didn't really matter. They just couldn't really affect Patrick Mahomes in those moments. And yes, Mahomes was getting the ball out quickly, he was scrambling, etc. But I think when you zoom out and look at the pass rush production and the film, there's a little bit of concern for me. Again, I don't want to put too much into week 1.
Right.
I don't want to look at this game where Patrick Mahomes scrambled like 8 times and got the ball out quickly and be like, man, the pass rush is awful. But when they had the opportunity in one-on-one situations to really, really take advantage, the only one who did it was Khalil Mack, and that was like the end of the game. So I don't want to put too much on this game for different reasons, but I'm a little concerned that the Chargers just might not have like truly any difference making pass rushers. Like I'm not there yet with Khalil and Tuli. Like I need to see more games, but Tuli had a 6% pass rush win rate this game. Khalil was at 9%. None of the defensive tackles outside of Deshaun Hand registered any wins according to PFF. Only Hand registered like 2.
Yep.
So I'm just like, I'm starting to get a little concerned with the pass rush. And it's unfortunate because I think skill set wise, it all makes sense, but I'm just throwing it out there that I'm a little concerned.
And I'm glad you brought it up. So as Steven said, Steven has his show notes. We sort of have a rundown, and I just like off to the side because I was bored, like just making my own kind of thing and trying to like figure out like what's a negative maybe I could bring up in this episode so it's not all just completely fluffy and positive.
Yeah.
But 2, just like diving into it more, and I'm glad ET44A brought it up. Like, yes, so Mahomes was getting the ball out quick, and initially I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's why the pressures aren't very high. It was like 2.64 seconds in his time to throw, which I believe is lower than his average across every season. The first time he played the Chargers last year was over 3 seconds. I think the second time was like 2.6 seconds. So they're trying to bring that number down, at least against the Chargers. And it seemed like it worked. And it made sense. Like they didn't have Worthy, they didn't have Rice. So it's like just quick little stuff. I get that. But where I like, and you, I think you were kind of drawing on the same thing and found some of the concerns is watching the film and then looking at the win rate. So just purely like, even if it is 2 seconds or whatever it is, 2.5 seconds, 2.6 seconds. Yes, it was out quick. No, Mahomes isn't going to sit there and go, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. That's not happening. But just watching them try to beat the offensive tackle across from them, it wasn't great. And some of those pressures were specifically them going, okay, let's have 2 edge rushers line up over here, and someone's going to go at Kingsley Suamataia, the left guard. And some of the pressures came from that. I believe that was Khalil's to end the game. Tuli had one. I think Dupree had one. So some of those pressures were purely just like, hey, here's how we're going to scheme this pressure rather than just winning on the outside against these guys. And that was one of my concerns heading into this game is other than Chris Jones, from the Chargers side, what could like we were concerned about this pass rush. And with Kennard not panning out so far, not that I thought he could have 5 pressures this game or something, but with him not panning out and losing Joey Bosa, which was the right move, but he's a person who can win against the edge or against the offensive tackles and has against the Chiefs. Like, how's this group going to do? And it just wasn't great. So for me, I put it in the real category in that it is real that the Chargers need a pass rusher at the deadline. If they beat the Chiefs, and they did, and they continue this momentum and look like a serious contender, you got to go get yourself a pass rusher at the deadline. And maybe they're not super keen on doing that right now. But if you are moving towards, like, if this offense is what it is, and I don't expect the defensive secondary to be somehow magically better, but like if you have Mentor and you're good to go, you just have to get that difference maker, the guy who steals the game for you, because it won't always be Herbert. It might be, but you got to get the other guy. So as far as win rate goes, if you look at the players, you line them up based on like a 20% snap cutoff. The best Chargers defender in terms of win rate, their ranking was Bud Dupree at 91st. So that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Yes, it's one game, but this is a concern you and I have had for a while about this group. This is why, hey, even in my defensive heavy approach, I went and tried to get a Milton Williams or an Osa or whoever, try to get some more pass rush juice to this group, ultimately, I think Minter needs that blue chip player. The defense will be fine, but I think they need that other guy if these other guys aren't stepping up.
Yeah, and I think Bud Dupree played well for Bud Dupree standards, but he's just not the kind of player that I think the Chargers need at this point in time. He's more of a 4 as opposed to a 3. And when Caleb Murphy, gets into the game and as a pass rusher looks a little bit more spry than Bud Dupree does, I think we have a bit of an issue there. So I'm not gonna rush and make any judgment for Tule's year 3 breakout that I think I've been higher on more than most. I'm not gonna rush and say Khalil is washed or anything like that. They deserve the benefit of the doubt. And I think that they each had moments where they played well. Like Tule had a couple of run defense moments. So did Khalil. Khalil at the end had two of the most important pressures of the game. So I don't think that those two, like, I'm not going to say that they are going to go out and need to upgrade the starting positions. I think they're okay there. And I think I still believe in Tule to ascend past what he did on Friday night. But it was rough. I think for me, the biggest issue is that they just don't have a changeup anywhere. Like if Tule and Khalil don't win, it's tough for this group overall to generate pressure. And Tier Tart last year was kind of a guy who could come in off the bench and create pressure in a different way. And that looked so great with the second unit, and it was needed. And there's just not that other guy in the defensive tackle room. There's no Morgan Fox this year. There's no Joey Bosa this year. And I know people are like, they hate Joey Bosa, but when you have Joey, Khalil, and Tule versus Tule, Khalil, and Bud Dupree, that's an important difference, man. Like I think it just is. Like Joey had a way where he could create pressure quickly, and Tule and Khalil are both power rushers, and they just don't have anybody who can create quick pressure at this current time. So I think this coaching staff does a really great job of overcompensating for their weaknesses up front. Again, they deserve credit for all the stunts and simulated pressures and things like that. But it just feels like they need somebody, whether it's a defensive tackle or an edge rusher, who can create an instant win and really just kind of elevate the pass rush to a level where we're not seeing it right now.
Yeah. So hopefully that just comes with internal development, but this is one we've been circling before the season, and now I will continue to circle it heading up to the deadline.
Yeah, I agree. And so we'll maybe do like a deadline video at a certain point to see what kind of options are out there. But yeah, I think this is planting a seed of being concerned is probably how I would describe it right now.
Yeah, good call.
Okay, Tyler, anything for you that is real or fake that you want to bring up here?
Just barely. I do want to say, because like there was some concern with Minter's defense in that first outing against the Chiefs, like, oh, they didn't hold him to 17 or whatever. I would just say relax. I thought it was just a really well designed set of plays by Andy Reid, and then just some Mahomes magic that just, it is what it is. Almost reminded me of like that Bo Nix second half against the Chargers in that first outing, where it's like, that probably doesn't happen consistently, but it just did in this game. There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm not particularly concerned just yet.
Yeah, there were some thoughts online that the Chargers were not like doing their best in terms of trying to prevent the scrambling. But there were multiple times where I did see Deion was spying Patrick Mahomes. And then unfortunately, like every time that he wasn't, that's when Patrick Mahomes would scramble. And it's like, as a defensive coordinator, that's so frustrating, because you can't just call a quarterback spy on every single play. You want to try and mix things up and create different looks for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. And so it did feel like Mahomes was just kind of on it with the scrambling aspect of things. So I think my opinion for the Chargers defense hasn't really changed. Like overall, I think they'll have some tougher moments against some of the better offenses, but they're just so well coached that I think their floor is still so incredibly high. I still feel really good about the defensive tackle room from a run defense standpoint. They didn't really get to kind of like show that very much this week. So I think that is going to be a strength of theirs going forward. And then the linebackers, the safeties, I think are going to be more impactful going forward as well. So
yeah,
definitely not panicking about the defense overall, but I think their ceiling might be a little bit lower than last year. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so too. And we saw them against the Rams. It wasn't quite all in sync just yet. They didn't really play a ton together. So I'm surprised it didn't look maybe better, but I think they have plenty of time to gel and be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to some super chats and then we'll hold out for today. D3PO, that's a great name.
Nice.
He says, after the Kelsey slap, how about the wedding present for Tart's new nickname?
I love it. Wedding present works. Not wedding crasher. I don't know. That's not bad. We'll work on some.
Yeah.
The more I replay it and see it, the more I like it though. Like initially it's like, please don't get another penalty. But now it's like, do it again.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't mind it. Truly, I don't.
Yeah, all the Chiefs people were like, why wasn't he ejected? And it's like, you don't get to complain about the referees, buddy.
Oh, no. The one tweet I saw today, like, I counted 10 uncalled holding calls against the Chargers. And the gall to say, oh, well, the refs have a bias against the Chiefs. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So,
yeah, no, that's crazy.
I love their tears this week. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. Dre wants to know if the record prediction has changed at all. According to him, Minnesota and Miami look bad. I haven't really watched a ton of Monday Night Football. We'll see here in a second, but I don't know, man. I don't know if Mike McDaniel is coaching the Dolphins when the Chargers play them in like week 6 at this point. I truly have never seen a week 1 performance that bad from a team who like could have been potentially good heading into the season. So
yeah,
I don't know. I picked them to win that game already, so I don't know if the win-loss record has changed for me.
Yeah.
I had 11-6 heading into the season, and then after Rashawn got injured, I was like, okay, maybe this is more like 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still kind of in that range. Like I'm not gonna overreact to Friday and say, oh, this is a 13-win team, but I think I feel better about their chances of like really pushing maybe to 12.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think 10-7 feels like the floor a little bit for me.
Yeah, they also need to show us that they can hang in there for a season and not lose 3-4 star players to injury and then lose to the Cardinals or something stupid like that. So those things will happen. The Chargers looked good. I think I had them splitting with the Chiefs. To me, I would only start to change my prediction if they go 4-0. Not that they can't beat each of the next 3 teams, but like if you go 4-0, including 3-0 in the division, yeah, I would change my prediction.
Yeah, I think oh yikes. JJ McCarthy just threw a pick 6. That's funny.
Oh, that's great. Man, I heard all offseason about this JJ McCarthy guy, and Justin Jefferson has 4 yards.
That's sick. Yeah, that might be a problem for them. So I think 4-0 is on the table. The Commanders in week 5 scare me a bit just because Jaden Daniels rushing is just such an X factor there. I think they should win at Miami. I'm not buying the Daniel Jones Colts just quite yet. The Vikings, I know people are saying they look bad right now. TBD there. Titans have a good defense. Steelers have a good defense. So things get tougher, but if they're 8-2 heading into the bye week, I don't think that's like the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't think so. I got to see what their schedule is. The Cowboys, I don't know. I laughed them off, and then they kind of looked competitive, but who knows?
Yeah.
Texans.
I still feel not great about the last 5 games. Like,
yeah,
Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos. That's a heck of a way to close the season.
Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah, so we'll see. The Broncos game, I think, will tell me a lot about the Chargers. Even though I think they'll win, there's just that game scares. Like again, the Broncos scare me more than the Chiefs. I know people are like, "This is different." The Broncos scare me more than the Chiefs. That defense is still the best defense in football after 1 week.
Yeah, the Broncos. I think the 3 of the or not. What was it? It was 2 of the 4 highest pressure getters from the first week are Nick Bodino and Zach Allen. So.
And they have the defensive MVP and the other guy. Like, it's just insane.
If they can put up, 27 points against the Broncos, then I might start to. Like at that point.
Yeah,
I think they should. I think the defense will do enough that week. Just
Mhm.
Bo Nix looked horrible yesterday.
He did.
It was not good. So
Cost me money.
I had the Broncos in a survivor pool, so it was like a mixed thing for me where I was like, I need them to win, but I don't want you to look good, and that's what happened. So I'm cool
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know.
NSN wants to know how much was our O being really good versus the Chiefs sucking. Broncos defense is the best in the NFL. Our Broncos and Raiders winnable game. So we'll separate that. I think we kind of covered the second part of there.
Yeah.
But how much of the Chargers offense do you think is relevant to the Chiefs struggles on defense?
I really just got to give credit to Greg Roman. I mean, I really think there were so many times where it looked like the Chiefs were on their heels, on skates. I mean, when Quentin Johnson crossed that receiver, that DB's face, it was just like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. Or I think McConkey, same thing, like the crossers, the way it was timed, there was confusion in the secondary. And yes, part of that is like the defenders have to play. They didn't play well. They didn't pass things off, whatever. But part of it was Greg Roman just going like, oh yeah, let's just mix that all up and get these guys way and get our guys open. So I really think this was the Chiefs didn't look good on defense because Greg Roman and Justin Herbert and these receivers made them not look so good.
Yeah, I think it is a combination of both things. Like the Chiefs secondary lost a few key players, and like they've always been so good at safety, whether it was with like Tyrann Mathieu or Justin Reed. They don't really have that guy right now. So like part of that is very real. And I think that the Chiefs defense will be a lot better throughout the season because just Spags is like that good of a coach. But this kind of scheme has given the Chargers fits forever. And so I think it's a bit of both, but it's not like they, blew the Chiefs out. This was not like a 40-20 kind of game. Like this was still kind of a struggle at certain points. So I think the Chiefs will ultimately be fine on defense, and the Chargers just deserve a lot of credit for how they played on offense.
Yeah. The Chiefs can very well go trade for 3 players and then we all shut up and it sucks and go get Christian Wilkins and I hate life.
Yeah. Yeah. Barely heard a peep from Jerry Tillery, which was funny.
Yay.
Colin Camp says, was talking with a friend at work today and told him how I would bet my month's wages on him being a Pro Bowler this year. I assume that's about Joe Alt.
Yeah, I was at Joe Alt at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good bet. I do not encourage you to bet that much money on something, but yeah, that would be a good bet.
Yeah, not a bad one at all. I think as long as Chargers fans can rally and vote him, yeah, I think he's in that conversation easily.
Yeah, I agree. Last one from Action Dan 65 says the only ring that the Chiefs will get this year is on Taylor Swift's finger.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs again have always pulled off some weird stuff where it's like, oh, look at that, they're in the Super Bowl again, but they're not beating. I mean, if it's the Eagles again, they're not beating the Eagles suddenly. And I don't think they're getting past the Bills or the Ravens, although they keep doing that. Again, every year they do that. But
yeah,
just looks like 2 buzzsaw quarterbacks on Monday or Sunday night. Man, I just don't think the Chiefs have it this year.
Yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice is going to come back at some point. He supposedly looked like really good in training camp.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, I don't think the Chiefs offense has their like true difference maker right now. Like, I think with Kelsey being the way that he is athletically and until Rashee Rice comes back, like it's gonna be a problem for them. And so they play the Eagles next week. I think that's comfortably a game that I would say they lose.
Yeah.
They play the Ravens the week after that, or excuse me, they play the Giants after that, and then the Ravens, and then the Jaguars, and then the Lions. And then Rashee Rice can come back after that. So there's like a pretty good chance that they're sitting at 3-3 when Rashee Rice comes back, and like that's not the worst place for them to be. And their schedule does get a little bit easier after that, but you still have to play the Commanders, the Bills, the Broncos twice, the Chargers again, the Cowboys, the Texans defense. Their schedule is not like super easy, so it's for me like I've been like of the mindset of like I don't want to pick against the Chiefs for the longest time, but I just look at the way that the Ravens and the Bills the gear that they can get to.
Yeah.
And I just have a hard time seeing the Chiefs being able to match that this year. But I also felt that way last year. But
yeah, I don't know. But the Chargers can definitely get some distance between them and the Chiefs before that eventual rematch. So we'll see.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Drayson in another one and wants to know, has there been an update on Christian Wilkins?
Not that I'm aware of. I think there was all that rumor and buzz and then nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. We know he's not healthy right now. So like people thinking like, oh, they could just sign him right now and play. He's not ready to play right now. He was in a walking boot as of like a month ago. So
that's right.
Yeah. And then there was like all of the off-field stuff too. So
and also that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting that one to happen. But if they want to go to Miami, I know he was like most recently with the Raiders, but like, and if they want to go to Miami for one of his other former teammates, I would not be opposed to Bradley Chubb, man. Like he's not the same player he was before the injury, but that would be an edge rusher I would be very interested in it once the Dolphins embrace the tank.
Yes, which seems very soon. You're getting shredded by Daniel Jones. It's fucking terrible.
So. The Colts offense did a punt. Like the Colts offense.
It was like, yeah. Granted, they have good weapons, but it's Daniel Jones, guys.
Yeah.
So,
Jacob Arnold with one simple BTFU and FTR. That is all.
Yep. It is that week, and it's potentially either with a limited Bowers or no Bowers at all, which not bad. I'll take it.
And Chip Kelly is not playing him as many snaps as the other team did. And like, I know he still had 100 yards, but I don't know, man.
It was a lot of like Michael Mayer, which, hey, good. I'm glad Michael Mayer finally got something, but it's also like, probably should put Brock Bowers on the field. Just my 2 cents. I'm not a coordinator, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, we'll do our Raiders preview later in the week, but I'm not super concerned about this week.
No, I am not.
All right, you guys, that is going to do it for us today. Hopefully you enjoyed that episode of our Chargers film review. We'll do this every single week. Usually on a Sunday game, it will be on Tuesday. Monday night game next week. We'll figure that part out, but potentially Tuesday if we can get to it. So we'll keep you guys posted as always, but hopefully you enjoyed that one. We always like doing this one. We're film junkies at this point in our podcasting career, that is for sure. Tyler, any final thoughts before we head out?
I'm gonna go watch Ben Johnson confirm my priors that at least it was a good option to root for him as an alternate to Harbaugh. It wasn't popular apparently to do that, but
no, it was not. It was not. All right, guys, appreciate you so much. Make sure to leave a rating, review, comment, all that good stuff. It does genuinely help continue to grow our show, and we appreciate the heck out of you guys. So we'll see you on Thursday for our Raiders preview. As always, bolt up.